When it comes to programming in C, especially complex mathematical calculations, graphics and image processing, simulations and modeling, optimization algorithms, machine learning, data analysis, signal processing, cryptographic operations, game developing, basically nearly every field, you will for sure need an option to simply square a value. This makes it at all the more surprising that the C programming language does not provide an operator that squares a value or has one at hand which raises a value to a specific power. What C has though is the function POW for that. You may shrug your shoulders now and ask, then you have what you need, deal with it, but you shouldn't dismiss a square functionality so quickly, and I will tell you why. Have a look here at code blocks. There are some square or to the power of operators built in other programming languages for good reasons. Often it is used the caret. I will show you here in a simple 2 to the it looks basically like this. So something like this here means in other programming language something 2 to the power of 5. Unfortunately, in C, the caret is already used as a bitwise exclusive OR operator. So you cannot use it, but there is another exponent operator you may meet in the wild that consists of 2 asterisks, as in, I will show you here, this way written. But you probably know in the C programming language, 2 asterisks is used to identify a pointer to a pointer, basically an array of pointers. That means in C as a developer, you have to use the POW function, POW, this way, and that gives with 2,5 also a value 2 to the power of 5. This requires to include the math.h header file. On some systems you must remember to link it to the math library with -lm on the command line as well, but I don't want to make a big fuss of it, as you probably anyway have to include math.h if you are working on an application which uses more specific mathematical functions. Anyway, I prepared an example here to show you in a simple example that if you have an integer alpha which is equal to 5 and you output that, then you can simply by alpha times alpha or with the POW function square that result. And I owe you at least that this code works. As you see, the square value of 5 is 25, and it doesn't matter how you get to that result. Yeah, as said before, squaring a value happens frequently in math. Many C coders just write now A times A as opposed to POW A, 2. And the reason is simple. A times A calculates by far faster internally than using the more general POW function. The function needs to allow for fractional and negative powers, roots, and reciprocals. So need to check for those before simply multiplying in a loop. On top, you have a function call all that makes using the POW function or power function between 4 to 5 times slower than just multiplying two values. To summarize, C does not have its own function square to generate square numbers in a simple way, but they are used relatively often. It has become common practice for many programmers just to use an expression as A times A, or in this case here, alpha times alpha. This is a pragmatic approach, but it does not make the code any easier to read or clearer. Of course, you can now write your own library and include it in the header, but there is a much more elegant option that is easy to implement and widely understood. It is just much more simple and nerdy to use a macro, as I will show you here. All you need to do is to define a macro, and in my case I will use the macro square and put in A here. And I want that macro being executed as A times A. So if I use it, then I also want to try out if it works. So I copy and paste here the last line in. And here, instead of calling the function, what I do now is I call my own pseudo function here called square. And here I don't need anything but alpha. So yeah, that is not alpha, but now it is. What I'm going to do here is the square function is really just a macro, but it feels like a function. It accepts even an argument here called A, and then replaces it with A times A. And for the precompiler, a macro is just like a text substitution, and that makes your pseudo function, and that is a kicker here, even work with different types, as long you can use the asterisks as a multiplication operator on them. Here a little side note, don't get confused with the asterisks in front of types indicating a pointer or in front of an identifier to dereference a value stored in memory where a pointer points to. So now I still owe you here to execute this code as well. And as you see here, it works smoothly. Well, what you really want is an exponent operator. But you have to face the fact that this is probably never going to happen in the C programming language. If you want to make your code more readable, or if you want or need to squeeze some performance out of your code, then a macro, like shown before, is certainly a viable option.